From LA Late News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings LA Late.
It's a big morning of Mornings LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021 direct from Santa Monica. And the incredible great news as we start the day is that a recon that passed the subcommittee several weeks ago is heading to a vote. Oh boy. Breaking deals as a deal has been reached among House Democrats, but will the vote happen today? It didn't happen last night. I'll explain the latest details in this recording. Then, the vote could happen by the time of this afternoon. The latest details of where this recon vote is heading to the finish line. Boy, programs in, programs out, $1.75 trillion price tag? No. I say it's 1.95, and guess who's having issues with this as well? House Democrats. But the big news is that 3 of 3 programs I said that were out on Monday and I said would be going in, went in. Oh boy. And this is a lot of checks that'll pay you upwards of $15,000 across all these clusters. Then student loan debt, more debt could be forgiven. Whose debts are coming up next by executive order? And then that COLA raise of 5.9% is going to get supplemented by fifth stimulus right behind that. It's a big morning's broadcast. I'm here live with you direct from Santa Monica as the recon is going to a vote. It's going to pass the House. 3 new programs are in that I said were going to happen. I said that the vote would happen this week. I would be called for a vote this week. I said that the 3 programs would go in. They are going in. And I said the confusion about the price elements is going to cause confusion across the board. It is. We have all the incredible details as this recon heads into a big morning. The toast is toasted. The butter is buttering. I'm here. You're here. And it's time for a great Mornings LA. Morning, everybody. I hope you're doing well and hope the weather is good where you are. The great breaking news is that a recon is happening, and that recon vote was to happen last night, but now it's slated for Friday. But breaking details is that the vote will happen concurrently with the roads and bridges or before. I have the latest details where that price tag will be. It's currently at 1.95, but maybe going higher. And that was where the confusion is laying. As new programs are added, 3 of 3 that I started this week predicting would be added are now added. And we have big news as that hard cold cash in this recon is incredible. Lots of it across the board in this recon. Then we'll be turning over to student loan debt. More debt could be forgiven by executive order. That would be $10,000. Oh boy, here we go. And then fifth stimulus coming right behind that. And Jay Powell's comments this week confirming the inflation rate. I have all those details as well as we go into a big, wonderful morning's broadcast. And this is LA, America's only 24-hour day, 7 days a week financial news channel in America. Live in the morning, taped in the afternoons for a reason. You're not going to see the breadth, the depth, and the incredible coverage of these items anywhere across broadcast media except here. So I want you to subscribe, like this video, and consider becoming a member to the most talked about channel there is. It was 3 weeks ago that a subcommittee of the House passed a recon at a $3.5 trillion price tag. It's now today at about 1.95. And those 3 clusters of checks pay you across those clusters about $15,000, a mixture of hard cold cash and some back-end cash that comes thereafter. Those clusters, the status of those clusters, we're going to go over right now. We're going to go over which of the checks have survived by the time of this recording in the House bill, which of the 3 add-ons have survived and are in the House bill, and which checks are going to be added in by the senators. It's incredible, great news. We're going to first go over the overview of those clusters before we go into the details in the second half of this video. Stay with me because this is a massive, massive recording. Let's go over the first clusters of checks and see their update. But remember, these 3 clusters pay you about $15,000. All walks of life, all different types of viewers, and this is a mixture of hard cold cash and other types of free benefits across the board. Here we go. First cluster, everything survived. Yes, everything survived in the first cluster, and for the first time on Mornings LA, you're going to see some of the checks actually increased. Whoa. Hazard pay is in there for one more year for my essential workers. There's about $1,500 for those essential workers on the back end. $4,000 of elder checks if you're caring for an elder person. This is on the back end. And then $4,000 for care of the young children. Then they got money in there to repair the home if you live in a low-income community. This is hard cold cash. Then they got $3,600 of the CTC, the child tax credit, approximately for one more year. This is hard cold cash. And then they got money in there for purchase price of your first an electric car, but not at $7,500. This is back end money, and it's $12,500 of money to you for the purchase price of your first electric car, raising the amount of money from $7,500, plus for 15% for the purchase price of your first electric bike. There you go. Let's go to the first add-on. And if you watched Evenings LA last night, you saw me emotional on air, as I had thought the provision was gone. It was an add-on from the illustrious Maxine Waters, who's done a lot of great stuff for Los Angeles over the years. But I got emotional on air because I revealed it is back in there. As Lynn Glenn said, oh my goodness, she was speechless. Money, hard, cold cash in your hand for the purchase price of your first home. Maxine Waters wanted at $25,000. I don't think it's at the full $25,000, but it's confirmed in the House bill. They are giving you hard, cold cash either to you or the seller during escrow for the purchase price of your first home. And Maxine Waters was very excited about this. Lynn Glenn, a longtime viewer that was in the live chat, she was speechless, as I was as well. I got very emotional to reveal that to you. Let's go to the second cluster of checks and let's see which were in there and which one are out. Paid leave and also medical leave back in there, baby. This is hard cold cash. Then pre-kindergarten in there, hard cold cash. Tuition-free community college out. And then money for tax credits, like household tax credits, is back end. And then weatherizing your home. That's in there as well, weatherizing your home. You definitely need to weatherize your home, especially if Joe Manchin comes visiting at a Maserati and pulls up in the driveway. Hey, Joe, I saw you on Twitter. No, you can't stop in my driveway. Just keep on going. Weatherize your home. This is all for all people, including middle class. It is a great news. We don't know if this is hard cold cash or on the back end, but let's go over the other items. Paid leave and paid family leave. Boy, I detail this a lot in this video. Stay with me. This is hard cold cash. It is upwards of thousands of dollars per year for my workers. This is huge. Then pre-kindergarten hard cold cash up front. And then those tax credits would be back in. Wow. The second add-on comes from Bob Casey. He is one of the advocates for this provision, and they got it in there. It is the money for in-home health care for my seniors and my people on disability. Totally free. He was looking for $250 billion. He got a little bit less. We do not know if this will be in a voucher form, which would be hard cold cash, or if it will be in a benefits coverage. I think it will be in a benefits coverage. Bottom line, is it going to be free? It's going to be free for my seniors and also for my people on disabilities. Free in-home health care. Wow. Let's go to the third cluster of checks and let's see the status of those. And it's getting better by the moment. So, free school meals for all. They got that in there. That is both free school meals and hard cold cash of $65 a month per child when they're not in school. Cheaper prescription medication. This is a benefit. Then immigration reform in there. That is not cash. Then farmers. I don't know if it survived. Internet. I don't know if it survived. Clean energy out. Workers. I don't know if it survived. And then Medicare expansion survived. So let me go over the Medicare expansion because there's actually four items in there. First, the so-called Medicare gap, which I'm detailing in this video. Stay with me because we're going to go over a lot of detail. Look how much research I'm bringing on camera for today. Yeah. The Medicare gap coming up later in this video, you will now have provided to you in Republican-led 12 states where they're offering Obamacare but would not pay for it. In all the workaround, they will now be offering you private insurance for low-income families very, very cheap in those Republican-led states. Wow. That's the first one. Then, dropping the Medicare eligibility age, no, I don't think that happened. Number 3, the hearing got in there. It will either be a voucher, hard cold cash, or it will be a benefits coverage, whether they give you the cash up front or they'll just pay for it. It'll be a break even one way or the other. And then the dental and vision currently out, but there is a push to get $850 vouchers, hard cold cash in your hand every year for a voucher to go get dental work. There we go. Let's go to the third add-on, which is that MSC IRS monthly stimulus check. So far, these clusters of checks pay you, all viewers of this channel, virtually about $15,000, a mixture of hard cold cash and some back-end items. But that MSC is heating up. Why? Because you're going to see in this recording that what's going on is the House members say, Senators, you want to do a lot of stuff. We're going to send it over to you to take care of it. You're going to see that the House members in the second half of this recording say, the Senators are taking the lead. So you want to add stuff in there? Do it. And that is why it's so important. Because when you look at the MSC, which stands for Monthly IRS Stimulus Check, that is a real baby of the Senators. We have Coons, Casey, Warren, Sanders, Schumer, all telling viewers of this channel over the last few weeks that they're inserting it on the Senate side. Now, where can they add this in there? 3 opportunities. The first one, most unlikely. The second 2, they represent they're doing it. The first one is after the House bill is debuted, which it has been, but before the vote or during the vote, the House members can introduce amendments to change the language on the House side before the House approves it. I don't think that's likely at the moment. Then we have the Senate approach, which is 2 items. I usually just talk about the Vote-A-Rama. Let's go first to the Vote-A-Rama and then go over the second one, which is new this week. The Vote-A-Rama is a 2-day event at the very end of the process where senators make changes. Senators, you're going to see later in this recording, have a lot of stuff to add to this. When you look at the recon, 90% of Bernie's stuff is missing still. So he's going to make a lot of changes when the recon gets to the Senate. We have Ron Wyden says he has a lot of changes to make as well. So the senators have a 2-day event at the very end called the Vote-A-Rama, in which they introduce amendments, changes to what the House bill has in there. But that is the first opportunity and the most likely opportunity. But there's another opportunity, and this one is starting to manifest itself. That is sending the legislation to a subcommittee in the Senate. Who's the Senate budget chairman? Bernie Sanders. And if you look at the Senate efforts at the moment in the second half of this video, you're going to see senators saying we have a lot of stuff to add. If there is that much stuff to add, you can't do that in 24 hours or 48 hours during a Vote-A-Rama. You want to do it over subcommittee. And that is where it gets very heated and very beneficial to us. So a lot of details across the board to add that MSC IRS monthly stimulus check in there. But what about the vote? In the second half of this video, we'll be going over the deal reached with Nancy and the progressives. What was that deal? And why was a vote called potentially on Thursday night last night? And why was that something I was able to predict correctly again? What went on? The voting happening today. A vote will happen today, Nancy Pelosi represents. But will it? I'll have the latest analysis in this video. Price tag of 1.75, not particularly true. It's now at 1.95. And this is causing confusion. I said it would cause confusion, and that is where the confusion's laying on the House side with the vote today. Programs in, programs out. It's great news. As 3 of 3 programs I said were going in there. And in this recording, you're going to learn that a lot of the programs that I didn't know were in there are in there. And then a lot of hard cold cash checks that I didn't know were in there are actually even bigger. Wow. Then we'll be turning to student loan debt if we have a little bit of time. And we'll be also turning to the big exciting details of fifth stimulus across the board. We got a lot in the second half of this video. Stay with me. As the toast is toasting, the butter is buttering. The recon is heading to the finish line with a vote potentially today. And big sums of money that'll pay you upwards of $15,000. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as Mornings LA continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Late Daily for the excitement of the new LA Late live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LA Late at 9 a.m. Home LA Late returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LA Late at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LA Late. And the excitement continues as we have a bill and we have a deal. The recon is going to a vote and started that voting process last night, but did not finish. So now the vote on the recon is set for today. Will it finish today? I have the latest analysis. Breaking news you're not hearing anywhere else except on LA. The price is right, not particularly right, at 1.95, not 1.75. And this is causing confusion for today's potential vote. Programs in, programs out. Great news, as a lot of programs are going in that we did not know were in that recon. But 3 of 3 programs I said would be added this week are added. Wow, how about that? Student loan debt forgiveness, more debt could be forgiven by executive order. I have the latest details on that. And then this stimulus heating up in just a few weeks, right after that COLA raise of 5.9%. It's a big morning broadcast. I'm excited you're here because the toast is toast and the butter is buttering. And all the predictions delivered on this channel this week came true. I told you Nancy would attempt to vote on Thursday. She did. I told you she's doing the recon concurrently with the roads and bridges. She is. And I told you 3 of 3 programs are being added, and they have been. This is LA, America's most comprehensive and most talked about news channel. Live in the morning, taped in the afternoons. Coming up next is Afternoons LA at 3 p.m. and then Evenings LA at 5 p.m. Big new shows, but do not miss noontime at 11 a.m. and the 1 o'clock Afternoons LA as well. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. Like this video and consider becoming a member. Let's go into all the incredible dramatics that are heating up right at this very moment, starting right now. It's important to understand how the narrative changed so quickly. And I delivered the news to you last week. What happened? It was last week that something changed. Going into last week, we had the following situation. The mindset was, do not call the vote on the recon if it's not finished. Wait for the senators to make the determination and have the progressives block the roads and bridges. Pramila versus Pelosi. Suddenly, the universe changed quickly. How did it change quickly? Bernie, Nancy, and the progressives made concessions and agreements behind closed doors. You're hearing for the first time really in this recording. And that was that the progressives would back off and allow the roads and bridges to be called for a vote if it was called concurrently with the recon. And more importantly, that the House members were looking at the situation and say, it's the senators who are negotiating provisions. We're done as House members. Just send it over to the Senate. That's what Bernie, Pramila, and also Pelosi said. That if there's certain senators who have sort of an animosity to a certain provision, send it over to the Senate and let them deal with it and let them vote no, because we're calling your bluff. And that is what happened. Nancy Pelosi sent the recon into the subcommittee of the House Rules Committee last Thursday and had the recon ready for a vote this last Monday. But senators wanted to make changes, and 3 of 3 provisions that I said were going to be added to the recon were added. I said the paid leave was going to be added. It was. I told you that the money for prescription medication was going to be added. It was. And I told you that SALT was going to be added, and it was. And then she said, let's go. Thursday morning, we started with the breaking news that the recon would be called for a vote, and it was no surprise to the viewers of the channel, because I had told you over the last week, Nancy would call the vote on the recon Thursday night. She always calls votes on Thursday night. But if you're a member of this channel or a subscriber, you got the news alert from either me, the YouTube channel, or the YouTube alert, or the LA Late alert system, which is totally free and link in this video. By Thursday night at about 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the vote was set. Representative Claiborne said that the vote was happening that night. 2 hours later, Nancy Pelosi was polling House members and was starting to see that she did not have enough votes. So she did not call the recon for a vote as of 7 p.m. last night. What were the reasons? Ironically, the reasons Nancy Pelosi did not call the vote were the problems the House members had, the same problems I had with the recon. Now, let's stop for a second. The problems they're having with the recon is not the substance. They're in favor of the provisions. The problem they're having is the numbers. So here we go. First, since last Saturday, I've been identifying several programs that have the word lifetime or permanent, but are supposed to be 1 or 2 year programs. I said that causes a concern because you don't know if the program is really that price tag. That's what Joe Manchin expressed a concern about Monday. The House members said the same thing to Nancy yesterday. Second, there was a Joint Committee on Taxation report released early Tuesday. It was not finished and initially said that of 1.75, only 1.48 of the recon is paid for. What does paid for mean? It means it's paid for with taxes. That's how the president's proposing the recon. It's 100% paid for. Untrue. They showed only 1.48 trillion is paid for. Now, this is a problem because at 1.75, the recon was, it did not have paid leave in there. Now it does, which is $200 billion, bringing us to 1.95. It did not have salt in there, price tag unknown, and it did not have the cheaper medication in there, price tag also unknown. So that is why the price tag of the recon right now is at least 1.95, perhaps over 2 trillion. And that would show that at least $500 billion or half a trillion is unpaid for. That is causing a big question. So the nuance or the dramatics of this last night was House Democrats said, we do not want fellow Democrats to run the numbers. We want the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, which is a nonpartisan organization, to run the numbers so we see exactly how much these programs are and see how much exactly is paid for or unpaid for before we call the vote. The report would take more than 1 day. So the reaction came in this morning exactly like I had been telling you this last week, which is we're done on the House, send it to the Senate. We're done on the House, send it to the Senate. Let the senators take care of it, which is basically we're tired of senators calling the bluff. Just send it to them. These are 3 comments from 3 Democratic House members. We're at the point that were we to wait for another week, it's going to look worse. It's baked and it's going to get overdone. There's a point at which you have to stop talking and just come to terms on it. Anthony Brown. We're spinning our wheels, covering ground we've already covered. Bill, language, vote, House, send it over to Senate. That's brilliantly simply said. We're done on the House, send it to the Senate. If the senators want to make modifications, do it. Representative Scott Peters from California. It seems like we're making the recon, aka the social spending bill, more complicated than it is. Look, it's ridiculous to add certain provisions and worry about the Senate. Now, this is where I disagree with Peters. Is he saying don't add provisions based upon what's going to happen in the Senate? No. That was the old guard about 2 weeks ago or a week ago. The new guard is put the stuff in there, send it off over to the Senate. There you go. So what is going on? Well, Nancy Pelosi had a meeting on Thursday morning that said, hey, we're ready to call the vote on the recon. This is what she told press. We're ready to pass both bills. The great news is that somewhere along the equation, Pelosi and Pramila had an agreement. And the agreement was that the recon and the roads and bridges would be passed concurrently. Nancy said that 3 times yesterday. Suddenly, Nancy went from not so great Nancy last week to really good Nancy this week. What was she doing? She was calling the vote on the recon first on Thursday, then the roads and bridges today, Friday. Then she was also saying they're always going to be concurrently, and that even last night when the recon could not be called for a vote, she said, make it very clear, I'm calling them concurrently. I'm not calling one without the other. Good. So that is the situation on the vote at the moment. Do I think the vote will happen today? I will be either live programming note. Afternoons L8, just taped minutes ago, is based upon the vote tonight. But Evenings L8 will be the closest recording, and it'll either be live or taped. And I will be in the live chat of both shows telling you the update if the vote is happening. The vote may be way too late for a lot of people. Usually, sometimes the votes are nearly midnight on the East Coast. So here we go. That is the incredible details. So deal? Yes. For purpose of the House members, there is a deal. For purpose of the House members, we have a deal on the recon. And we are just sending it over to the House, to the Senate to make their changes across the board. Well, the next question is, what is in that recon? And we started this week with me saying 3 provisions out are 3 provisions going in. And there's any reason why this signals a changing of the guard, it's this. These provisions were taken out because of senators. Then when they realized, well, wait a second, I think the senators are calling a bluff. Let's call their bluff. Just add them back in there and send it over the Senate. Those provisions are now in. Number one, paid leave. I told you it was going to go back in. It went back in. And this is hard cold cash for you. How much is it? A lot. It's thousands of dollars. Here's the calculation. They're doing $200 billion of a 10-year program of paid leave, which will be about 4 weeks. Let's do the calculation. And first understand what paid and family leave is. It will cover, oh boy, this is really great news, folks. It will cover all workers of all income levels, whether you are W-2 or 1099, whether you're an Uber Lyft driver or work for Macy's. This would be hard cold cash paid to you by the federal government. How much is it? They were looking at about $70,000 annual salary or more, $1,700 a week for up to 4 weeks. Yes, that's about $5,000 hard cold cash. Yeah. Then, if you make $35,000 a year or more, they were looking at about $800 a week. That's about $3,200 hard cold cash. And then they were looking at about $15,000 annual salary, about $400 a week, 4 times 4 weeks. Potentially, that is hard cold cash. What is paid in family leave and medical leave? They even have it defined. It is you have to stay home because of a birth of a child, or you have to stay home because of an illness or a sickness for a family member or yourself. Not COVID-ish, just in general. So your wife has to go to chemo. Your son has the flu. Your daughter broke her leg. Things like that. You have to stay home from work? Yes, up to 4 weeks a year for this hard cold cash. Who does not have a member that is sick at home that you have to stay home from work at least 1 week a year? Yes, this is incredible, great news, and this is hard cold cash. I say hard cold cash. It sounds like a beverage commercial. So let me go over some more of the details going forward. The second provision I told you was going to go in there, which was SALT, got in there. And the SALT is the following. SALT is great, especially if you're in big states. SALT will now allow you to deduct up to $72,500 on your IRS tax return of what you pay on state and local tax deductions. There's currently a limit of $10,000 set by the Republicans in the 2017 tax overhaul. All right, I hope you have your pen and paper ready because we're going to go over a lot of the programs right now. We got more of the programs later in this video, so stay with me. We're going to go over the hard cold cash checks and some of the back-end checks starting right now. First, paid leave, $200 billion. You just saw that. That's hard cold cash checks, thousands of dollars, depending on the number of weeks you're out. Then, pre-kindergarten, 1 year, 3 to 4 year olds. That's hard cold cash. Next, they're going to have home health care for people who are on disabilities or people who are on Medicare. We do not know if this is hard cold cash or just a coverage benefit. 2 ways they can do it. Either way, it's going to be break even. Either they send you a voucher for it or they just cover it. Then they are going to provide the CTC, of course, for 1 more year, $3,600 approximately of hard cold cash, then up to $65 a month when the kid is not in school of hard cold cash per child. Then they got the cheaper prescription medication in there. This is not a check, but this is cheaper money for you. I have a lot of this in a second, but boy, this is going to run through at least 2028. Brand new on Mornings LA is this provision. $40 billion will be in the recon to provide you free job training. Wow, that is wonderful. Free job training, $40 billion of it. Then here comes the Medicare gap, which I detailed early in this video. I'm going to slow this down because it's a little complicated. In 12 holdout states that have Republican governors, they want to offer Obamacare, but they don't want to pay for it. So the workaround will be in those states, the federal government will provide you, if you're low income and uninsured, the opportunity to get subsidized private insurance very, very, very cheap. This is huge. So it's not going to be public insurance. It's going to be private insurance. Wow. Then immigration reform is in there. It's not checks for anyone. Side note, there's a Fox News report out that says under fourth stimulus recon, the immigrants are getting $450,000 checks. Untrue. Moving on. Housing assistance. You saw it earlier in this video. There's a lot of checks. Now, third stimulus, when it became a law, I said I can get you $15,000 from third stimulus. To this date, viewers on this channel from third stimulus have gotten $45,000 for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and other items. You don't have to be behind on your bills. You don't have to be a certain type of person. You just have to have that burden, and the nonprofits are picking up on eligibility as well. Imagine under that recon, third recon, where it was $47 billion for these items, and you got $45,000, they're bringing it back under fourth stimulus at a price tag of $150 billion, meaning that you can get the same money you got under third stimulus, just a lot more of it. So if you got $45,000 before, get ready to get more of it under fourth stimulus. And there's new items on top of it, like the home repairs for low-income community, the checks for home repairs, the money for weatherizing your house, and the money, hard cold cash, for the purchase price of your first home, as Lynn Glenn was ecstatic about that as well. So that is in this whopping $150 billion housing program. The in-home healthcare, we went over that. Here comes the college students. You will get $550 hard cold cash checks if you're on Pell's grant. Then when we talk about the climate and the $555 billion of climate, it's not just for power plants, it's also for you. And this is the big shocker. You will get $12,500 of back-end credits for the purchase price of an electric car if you buy it in a union shop, which is General Motors and Chrysler. So excluded is Toyota and Tesla. Oh, what happened right there? Something happened. I went out of focus. I looked up and I'm like, oh, I'm just, yeah. Maybe Tesla did that. No, there I am. Oh, I just came back. Okay, hi, good to see you again. So, $12,500 for a electric vehicle. Then, here comes and then also the $65 checks for the student if they have to stay when they're home during spring break per child. Wow. Let's go to the prescription medication, because this is a big win. This is a big win for my seniors. Seniors on Medicare and Medicare as a whole have been really put through the ringer for 2 decades. Let's step back. 20 years ago, approximately, Medicare was rolled out. And under Medicare's rollout, the charter language said that whatever pharmaceutical companies want to charge for medication, Medicare would have to pay for it and pass the remainders off to you. So let's say Big Pharma wants to charge $1,000 for a prescription and Medicare wants to pay $600. They'd send you a bill for $400. You say, I can't afford that. I'm not going to pay for the medication. So you wouldn't get the medication. This went on for 20 years. Over those 20 years, lobbyists for Big Pharma kept the legislation from ever changing. And then over the last few months, Kristen Sinema tried to keep the status quo. The biggest win of this entire recon got covered nowhere due to really inept public relations details at the White House. Wednesday night, the president had a big win, and what was it? He called up Kristen Sinema and said, we need to expand this cheaper prescription medication across the board. And she said yes. The president got a major win, the biggest win of this entire recon that Wednesday night, with Sinema agreeing to cheaper prescription medication across the board. And now Sinema is blessing the entire recon. Did you hear this anywhere? No, because the White House chose to run stuff about climate instead of this. This was the big win that everyone wanted to hear. So what are the details? Let's go over the details. Medicare Part B and Medicare Part D will now be subject to negotiated lower rates. So things like insulin, which could be upwards of $100 to thousands of dollars a prescription, will be $38. And the excitement is just felt across the board. Through the year 2028, 30 prescription medications will be lower. They cannot raise the prices more than the current inflation rate of that particular year, which is big because remember, when you look at fifth stimulus, you're going to be tied to inflation as well. For the first time in history, government will no longer have its hands tied behind its back, says Ron Wyden, meaning that they now can negotiate. And they're going to start with about 20 medications right away, then ramp it up every few years. Medicare Part D, of course, includes things like cancer medication and also arthritis medication. Sinema praised the event. Peters from California says it's really good for seniors. Jan Schakowsky said it was great considering how lobbyists fought so hard against this, and Ron Wyden called it transformative. So there you go. Now, recon programs in, programs out. Well, let's go over something new. Additionally, you're hearing for the first time on Mornings LA. We have a deal on these provisions, but are certain provisions in jeopardy? Yes. 2 provisions are in jeopardy, not because of negotiations, but because of the Senate parliamentarian. The Senate parliamentarian rules what can be in the recon or not. Has she been presented this yet? No, I thought she was going to be presented this early this week. What are the two provisions? Paid leave and immigration reform. Immigration reform has nothing to do about checks for immigrants, not at all. Is it going to stay in there? I don't think it will. Parliamentarian has previously ruled immigration reform can't go by a recon. Is the paid leave going to stay in there? I don't know. 50% of the people involved in the negotiations say the paid leave could get taken out by the parliamentarian. I do not know. So there we go. And the paid leave is a lot of money. Now, when you look at the recon, ironically, 90% of what Bernie Sanders, the head of the Senate Budget Committee, wants in the recon is still not in there. So imagine his stuff is not in there. Whose else's stuff is not in there? Senators. So you're seeing now that somewhere along the line in the last 7 days, starting about last Friday approximately, Bernie, Nancy, and the progressives said, just send it over to the Senates. The senators are negotiating and they can't come to agreement on certain items. Send it to the senators because they want to add a lot of stuff. So let's go over the stuff that the senators will likely add in there. And that is as Bernie Sanders, and let's go over some of the comments. Bernie Sanders says it's the best bill since the 1960s, but there's still some major gaps. Those major gaps, and this is a quote from a week ago, are still there for purposes of Bernie. Ron Wyden said last weekend that it's not done until the Senate acts, and Ron Wyden says there's a significant amount to still do. Well, Ron Wyden still has his stuff to do. Chris Coons says there's going to be changes. He's a senator. Jayapal says the senators are making changes around the block. AOC says the senators are making changes, and Chuck has to deal with the parliamentarian. And finally, Murphy, who's the senator, says there will be changes. So those changes likely could go by Senate subcommittee or Senate vote-a-rama. Now, let's pull out that pen and paper if you don't have it in front of you, and let's go back over our notes because I have some more programs in and programs out. And we're going to go over why the price tag of 1.75 doesn't seem to line up, because you're going to see some of these checks, including our cold cash checks to you. Some of these numbers don't line up. Let's go over one of them at a time. First, universal pre-kindergarten. There's a hard cold cash check for you have a parent or if you have a 3 to 4 year old for 1 year. They got in there the CTC $3,600 hard cold cash check for 1 year. The earned income tax credit for my hazard pay workers. This is a back end check, about $1,500. And then the home health care. Let me step back for a second. So here's the first concern. Child tax credit, it's supposed to be $60,000 single parent or $120,000 married couple. Why is the statement out from the White House saying it's $150,000 for a single child or $150,000 for a married couple? That number doesn't line up. If that's the case, it means it's not 1.75. Then the home health care, $200 billion of it, yeah, for 1 or 2 or 3 years. The language coming out of the White House says permanent changes. That ain't $200 billion, $155 billion. That's a lot. It's a lot. So there's some cause of concern how much these programs cost, that the numbers don't match the language. Hearing services, this will either be a voucher, hard cold cash, or a payment coverage under Medicare. Then we got to the money for the home. A lot of great news about that. First, we got rent, we got utilities, we got mortgage assistance, we got rehabbing a home, low income, we got weatherizing a home, all types of families. And then we got the purchase price of your first home. All price tag about $150 billion. That's all hard cold cash. Then college students, $550 of hard cold cash with a Pell's grant. Then a parent of a child when not in school, it's $65 per month, hard cold cash. And then when they are in school, coverage benefit of free meals. So there you go. So what's missing for Bernie? What programs are still out for Bernie, which I believe are going to go in? Remember, Bernie's the Senate budget chairman, so guess what? When he gets the recon in the Senate, where do you think he's going to send it? McDonald's? No. I think he's going to send it right into a subcommittee in the Senate Budget Committee. He's going to grab it like a Purple Hawk and then sort of grab it and say, I got to make changes because he's the budget chairman. That's what he does. That's his dominion. And what is the first thing I think he's going to make changes to that's missing? Dental and vision. This is hard cold cash. So far, we have hearing in there with the hearing aid. We don't know if that's a check of money for the hearing aid or if it's a coverage benefit on the back end. But when we talk about the dental or vision, they last left it as a potential hard cold check. Let's go over first the dental. It was originally supposed to be 10 years of benefits. Then it was supposed to be 3 years of benefits. Then it was a voucher, hard cold check of $850 mailed to you if you're on Medicare every year for dental. That would cover things like cleanings. Not a lot for procedures. That's why I said $850 is good, but not a lot. That is a provision that Bernie is vowing to get added in there and beef it up. I think it's going to go in there, absolutely. Then when we look at the vision is very easy to get in there. Vision would be, as Bernie says, an eye exam and eyeglasses per year. That's not a lot of money for my seniors, my Medicare recipients. That would be upwards of approximately, let's say, $150 a year. $50 for a prescription, an eye exam, and $100 for a pair of glasses. Not particularly different. A hard cold check of voucher for that every year, and then you go out and get the prescription, get it done. It seems like that is very likely to happen. And then, which causes us to question what numbers line up and what numbers don't line up. Let's go over some of the provisions right now, and let's look at some of my notes and see where things need a little modification. Child tax credit, $60,000 or less is what I show. So when we see a press release from the White House, 150, it doesn't line up. We see the paid leave, which is huge. For $200 billion, they're not giving us big specifics, but it looks like it, but they are saying it's for everyone. So again, that is everyone. W-2, 1099, Uber driver or Macy's employee. 4 weeks running for a decade, 4 weeks per year. If your wife, if it's a birth of a child or anyone sick in your household or you, there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money. That would be thousands of dollars per year of hard cold cash. Then what else is in here? Here we go. We got childcare expanded for a few more years. Health insurance, we covered that. Housing aid, $175. It's huge. And then in-home healthcare, $100 to $200 billion. There you go. Let's jump over to student loan debt forgiveness for just a blink of an eye, and then I come back to my commentary about this recon. Student loan debt forgiveness will give you $10,000 by executive order if the Democrats take it. The president's offered to forgive student loan debt of $10,000 across the board. That's after the president forgave student loan debts for people who became disabled, people who worked in the nonprofit sector, people who went to work in the public sector for 10 years after graduation. The Democrats should take that $10,000 offer. Then COLA raises, yes. Your benefits are going up next year. Have you gotten that letter from Social Security? Your benefits are going up 5.9% starting in January. Now, fifth stimulus comes right behind that. And everyone among these Democrats are saying that they're doing fifth stimulus. Fifth stimulus would have 2 more potential lifts after that. And let's go over those lifts. The second lift would be a one-time lift under fifth stimulus. Let's say it's about 3%. That means you would lift 5.9 under COLA, then 3% on top of that. Then they'd apply a new benchmark next December for the year after that. The new benchmark is inflation. And Jay Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, said this week that inflation is going to be 2 to 3% next year. I've been saying it's going to be about 3%. So let's say 2 to 3%. That means you would get a lift up of 2 to 3% starting in January 2023 on top of that. Wow. They're going to remove the asset cap, remove the income cap, and remove the marriage penalty. Finally, if you haven't become a member, what are you doing? The newsletter, the membership link is under the video. Become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP and get that newsletter that comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Which brings me to my commentary tonight. As we look across this incredible recon and we look and see what we've done as a family over the last year, it's really, really good, and we're just getting started with the finality. Why is it really good? The viewers of this channel share a commonality, and their commonality is pushing. And when recon number 3 was passed, and I said I can get you $15,000, but you have to make the phone call. You have to make the phone call from the 6 places for the city, county, states, the 5 nonprofits, United Way, Salvation Army, etc. You have to make those phone calls. But if you do, I can show you how to get the money. You've really won. You've done really well under third stimulus, getting on average about $45,000 of rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, SNAP, food, clothing. And today, this week, you saw one viewer who showed that now the nonprofits are also paying for medicine. When you look at that third stimulus recon and these programs that generally are about $47 billion and how well viewers have gotten everything from rent, utilities, clothing, food, medicine, bills paid, bills unpaid, all paid. You've done really well. Now when we look at fourth stimulus recon, you have that repeated again, meaning you can get another round of this money. And we have all these other checks on top of that, hard cold cash, meaning it's upfront, and some back-end checks, which amount to at least approximately $15,000 for viewers across this board, on top of what you've gotten from third stimulus repeated again. There is a lot of money in this recon. The great news is that if you're a person who is middle class or low income, if you're a person who's single or a senior, if you're a person who's on SSI or SSDI or not on benefits, if you're a person who has children or doesn't have children, you qualify for these items. You have learned over the last year that there's never a never word in this channel. For example, in 2020, when I first started covering rent, there were people who said, I don't qualify because I'm not behind on my rent. We threw that away in just November 2020. Not true. If you call the 5 nonprofits, you know they pay for rent even if you're not behind on the rent. I don't qualify for because there's nothing for me in my city and county and state, and my country doesn't work like, and my state. We got rid of that. The people who have won have been the people who have learned to learn. And when you learn and you open your mind and you digest the information, you've done really well. I'm really excited for you because as this bill goes out of the House to the Senate, what happens next is a lot more is going to be added. Nothing is going to be removed. So when looking at this recon that is so good at the moment, that'll cover the same things you got so much money on the third stimulus at about $45,000. That money is going back into under third stimulus. That money is going back into fourth stimulus with additional new checks like repairing the home, like weatherizing your home, like first-time home purchases, like money for students, like money for children, like money for workers, paid leave, like money for seniors, and then incredible benefits still being proposed across the board. There's not anything that is nothing in this recon. This is a great recon, and it's getting better. In this later today, we'll be back on Afternoons LA at 3 o'clock, and we'll see the current status of the negotiations. And then at 5 o'clock, we'll see the big details of the voting process. Stay with me this weekend because we will see later tonight, and this may have to go by tweet or by alert by the alert system, if voting will happen this weekend. I believe voting will happen by this weekend. If it's not happening by this weekend, then there'll be negotiating provisions over the weekend, which will be part of knowing how things go to the finish line. I will be on air with you as well. With 16 shows per day and nearly 39 hours of programming, I'm excited you're here. And this is LA. Subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record, the most talked about channel in the nation because this is the most comprehensive and the viewers are getting the biggest sums of money. Learn, educate, get that newsletter that comes out tonight at 7 p.m. and learn about all the big money you can get. Like this video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power Casino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful morning, and join me next on Noontime LA at 11 a.m. from this channel in 2 hours from now.